So a fierce new battle over power, principle and political strategy opening up inside Nigeria's opposition ahead of 2027. And at the heart of it lies one explosive question. Should the presidency remain in the south, or should the opposition simply field the candidate most capable of defeating the incumbent? Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has forcefully entered that debate, warning that insisting on a southern presidential candidate against a sitting southern president, Bola Tinubu, may amount to what he calls political self-sabotage. In a strongly worded intervention, Alhaji Atiku argues that opposition politics must be driven by hard electoral arithmetic, not sentiment, emotion, or selective appeals to zoning. But directly opposing that position is Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, who appeared on this program 24 hours ago and has openly backed the decision of the NDC to zone its presidential ticket to the south, and has even declared his willingness to serve as running mate to Peter Obi if the coalition so decides. So yet again, the opposition appears divided over the path to power. Is zoning still necessary for national balance and stability, or is it politically naive to expect a southern opposition candidate to unseat a southern incumbent? Is the future of opposition politics now with the Obi-Kwankwaso axis in the NDC, or with Atiku and the ADC? Well, to help us as we unpack the growing battle for the soul of the opposition, I'm joined now from our studios in Lagos by the veteran journalist, publisher, ADC chieftain, and Atiku ally, Basharu Dele Momodu. Mr. Momodu, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Good to see you again. You look blithely patient there. Thank you for joining us. Let's start.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening to you. Let's start with what many Nigerians see as a contradiction. Atiku Abubakar now says zoning the presidency to the south ahead of 2027 is self-defeating and politically unrealistic. But where was this argument in 2007, in 2015, or even 2019, when zoning either directly or indirectly worked in his favor? Why does zoning suddenly become intellectually dishonest only when it is likely to benefit a southern aspirant?
Well, Tony, let me say, zoning has suddenly become important because politicians now see it as the only credential required to win an election, especially the presidential election. The APC and Tinubu, they know very well that if they don't drum up this issue of zoning, there is no clear path to victory for them. They know it. It's very clear. But I'm not going to be boxed into this zoning brouhaha because I've realized that it is a deliberate distraction from the important issues that we should be discussing. I've been watching Arise News from early this morning to this evening. There has been no other debate other than zoning. It's a distraction. And I can say it without any fear of contradiction that is not what we need at this time. Winning an election is about strategy. Those who want zoning, they have the right. I watched your interview with Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso last night. Very brilliant man. I enjoyed it. But I sent you a tape earlier on. I don't know if you've had time to watch it. The same Dr. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso told us just about 2-3 years ago that he would not be able to be a running mate to Peter Obi, and he gave his cogent reasons. One of which was that the part of the country he comes from will not vote a Peter Obi. You have the video. even if you are not able to play it. Also, I know that Peter Obi is targeting 2031 elections already, so the game has already started. So his permutation is that he has to come out now and be like a Lamb of God who will take away the sins of the earth, and so portray himself as a friend of the South, so that when it comes to his turn to run, he will be able to point at the fact that, after all, I sacrificed my own time for Peter Obi. Well, that's being clever, but I don't know. I believe in the God factor. We don't know who will be here in 2031 or not. I know that he's being kicked and attacked by his people, even in Kano. I live partly on social media, just like some of us are being kicked in the South for supporting a Northerner. That is what Tinubu has succeeded in doing, dividing Nigeria into North versus South. Instead of us now discussing, we have no electricity, security is nil, and so on and so forth, all we're now talking about is where a man comes from. I think it's like someone has hypnotized us. We have been jazzed into thinking only about what part of the country you come from.
Well, Mr. Momodu, I don't mean to interrupt
let me
you.
entertain you.
I don't mean to interrupt you there, because you've made that point a number of times now. But to be quite candid, the issue of zoning is a very, very valid point, given the way that this country is divided up, and there's regionalism, there's ethnicity. Nobody would deny the fact. That's why in the Constitution, Nigeria has federal character. If it wasn't meaningful, then it wouldn't be discussed at all. What I need to ask you is this. Atiku says, and you're supporting that statement, politics is about arithmetic, not sentiment. But doesn't, in your world and in Atiku Abubakar's world, doesn't politics also involve legitimacy, trust, and perception? If the opposition ignores zoning and presents another northern candidate against a southern incumbent, could that not alienate large sections of the South before the campaign even begins?
My brother, politics is a game of number. You can be sanctimonious, you can preach for as long as you want about zoning. If you are not able to win elections, you are wasting your time. One of the greatest Nigerians that ever lived was Chief Abdul Ganiyu Ishola Faweyimi. Brilliant. He went to prison on behalf of all of us so many times, but he could not win an election. What Atiku was saying is very valid. What is the point? If zoning is not in the Constitution of Nigeria, and he tried in 2019, he combined with Peter Obi, they did not win. In 2023, Peter Obi ran his own race. He did not win. So you are ready to continue to talk and talk and talk about zoning and losing election. That's what he's telling you, that for you to get Tinubu out of that place, you need more than zoning. And since there is nothing in the Constitution that says a northerner cannot run, a southerner cannot run, it is the decision of the party that matters. It is the party that will determine which strategy favors it best. You cannot say because you want a southerner to run, therefore you are ready to take a risk and continue to run the race, and then when tomorrow comes, people will start arguing it was Atiku. In fact, they are already saying it. In fact, it's so ridiculous today that they've reduced the next election to Atiku. Nobody is talking about Tinubu again. Does it make any common sense? You have an election in less than 1 year, and all you are debating on television is where Atiku comes from. So let Atiku run. Let anybody who wants to run. There is nothing stopping him. There is nowhere in the world where the only thing you discuss about election is where you come from. None. If you know of any, let me know.
Right. I don't mean to interrupt you again, but the fact is, Basharu, that the issue is not Atiku Abubakar in the bigger frame of things. It is in the frame of the opposition coming together to challenge 2027. This is, if you like, the micro before the macro. That is what is going on right now. And respectfully, Nigerians have heard this argument before, that only a northern candidate can defeat a sitting southern president. But wasn't that the same electoral arithmetic used to dismiss Peter Obi in 2023 before he transformed the race into a genuine three-horse contest? And there's still arguments today about how that election was actually won and where the numbers went and how they were calculated. I mean, our traditional political calculations perhaps becoming outmoded and leaving people like you and Atiku behind?
No. My brother Charles, I'm ready for you today, if you are ready for me.
I'm always ready for you,
If you are ready, yeah. Let me just give you some facts that will shock you about elections. Elections don't run on emotion. Now, if you look at Kano, okay, let's start from Katsina. In the last election, Atiku had 489,000 plus. Obi had 6,376. Tinubu had 482. And then Kwankwaso, a northerner, had 69,000. So those who are jubilating already, the election will be over by 12 noon. They are being very naive and oversimplistic. In Kano, Atiku had 131,716. Obi had 28,511. Tinubu had 511,341. And Rabiu Kwankwaso, 997,279. You can see the pattern. So I will jump from there and go elsewhere. I will now go to Northeast. Yobe, Atiku, 198,567. Obi, 2,406. Okay? Tinubu, 151,000. And then Rabiu Kwankwaso, a northerner, 18,000. So let's get real and get realistic. Atiku knew what he was saying. Atiku had meticulously plotted his way since 1992, 1993. And it is clear from this. If you look at the total, in the Northeast, Atiku had 1,741,000. Obi had 315,000. Tinubu had 1,185,000. Okay, so you continue, and then Kwankwaso, who is from the north, had 126,343. So where is the joy and the jubilation for the obedience who say, oh, now that we have Rabiu Kwankwaso, it's all settled? This is what Atiku is talking about. Truth is always bitter. And I am very, very happy that I was able to sit down after you called me this morning to put these things together. And now let's go to Kwara. This is now North Center. In Kwara, Atiku had 136,000, Obi 31,000, Tinubu 263,000, Rabiu Kwankwaso, a northerner, 3,141. Nasarawa, Atiku had 147, Obi had 1,000, Obi had 191,000, Tinubu had 172,000, and Kwankwaso 21,000. So the total, Atiku 1,087,000, Obi 1,133,790, Tinubu 1,670,000, and Rabiu Kwankwaso 51,000. Finally, we arrive in the Southwest. In the Southwest, Atiku had a total of 941,000. Obi had 806,000. Tinubu had 2,279,000. And Rabiu Kwankwaso 16,000. Where is the competition?
Right.
So
Okay. You've made your
in
point.
the southeast,
You've
of course, you can see that everybody is trying to hold the ball in its own corner. So in southeast, Atiku is worth showing. Okay, I think Kwasu actually came last. Atiku had 91,000. Obi had 1,960,000. And remember that is the part where people voted the most, where you had 90-something% voter turnout, which is really, really huge. And then Tinubu had 127,605, and Kwankwaso had 8,227. I realize that a lot of people don't read these days. It's a shame that people don't read. We just go on the internet and shout. Once we have Obi and Kwankwaso, it is over. Nothing is over. So let's get real. In the South, Atiku had 717,000. Obi had 1,210,000. Tinubu had 799. And Kwankwaso only 17,000. So we can continue to fool ourselves in opposition that yes, you see, there is this thing I call the arrogance. The arrogance of, I'm not hearing you, I'm seeing your hand, but I'm not hearing you. Right. There is the arrogance of the elites, thinking that Lagos, Abuja are the people who determine elections. No. There are millions and millions of people who have never heard certain names in their lives.
Well, can you hear?
They are going to vote.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Yeah, yes. Very, very good. Well, the key point here, Dele Momodu, and thanks for going through your figures there. You can't say that you didn't get enough time to reel through your figures. You did have the opportunity to do that. But let me just say this. In the final analysis, Peter Obi, according to INEC, had 6,100,000 and something votes. Atiku had 6,900,000 and something votes. I mean, that's really the key thing. However, you make the argument about whether he got this in the north or he didn't get it. When you aggregate the total votes, he barely went above Peter Obi. And the argument that people are making now is that youthful energy, you can't say that exactly what happened in 2023 is going to happen in 2027. You can't say that what happened in 2019 is what happened in 2023. That's not the way the mathematics works. There is tremendous emotional energy, according to the analysts who assess these things, that people like the combination of Peter Obi and Rabiu Kwankwaso, because of the youthful energy within their camp, and I'm not a spokesman for them, I'm simply putting the analysis to you, that could well be the deciding factor in 2027. That it's not just always about who got this vote or who didn't get that in 2023. It is also about who controls the opposition base. And as far as they're concerned, Atiku doesn't have that kind of base. And the other question is, why can't Atiku support the Obi Kwankwaso ticket? I mean, what's wrong with that? If the ultimate aim, because you made the point earlier, that the ultimate aim is to, that's the opposition's aim, is to remove the man in Aso Rock. Why can't Atiku Abubakar support the two of them? If he has that much muscle, why can't he bring it to bear?
Atiku knows that Peter Obi Kwankwaso will not remove Tinubu from Aso Rock. And the campaign, this campaign against Atiku is well coordinated. He's not a foolish old man. He knows that what he has built delicately, meticulously, tenaciously, he will see it to the end. That is his business. You cannot bully him out of a contest. It is his right. If he is going against the Constitution, I will not support him. But he has not done anything to go against the Constitution of Nigeria. Why can't Obi be his vice president? He brought Obi as a VP running mate in 2019. They did not win. So Why the hurry that it must be only Obi? And let me point something out to you. Why are you not campaigning for Rotimi Amechi? Rotimi Amechi, in terms of experience, is far superior. With all due respect to my friend and brother Peter Obi, he's been Speaker, House of Assembly in Rivers for 8 years, he's been governor for 8 years, and he has been minister for 8 years. That's experience. I still don't understand why everybody is doing like we have a Jesus Christ in our hands, and if we don't support him, we're all going to perish. I disagree with you on that. So go and check the records of each and every one of the aspirants in ADC. Go and look at the records of Ayatuddin, Alhaji Muhammad Ayatuddin. He sent me something this morning. I said, wow. So we have this caliber of men in Nigeria, right, and all we are shouting is one man, one man. Okay, I don't care who you bring.
We're about to run out of time.
Support your Obi. I will support my Atiku.
Right, and okay, that's fine.
I'm not just supporting Atiku. I went all out to study, to read this book by Nukabad. I did not know. I was reading today.
Let me just make this point very quickly.
We are disrespecting people by even suggesting it that I should step down for me. For me, it's an insult.
Let me make this point very quickly. I don't support any candidate.
I'm not hearing you again, please, if you can hear me.
Okay, can you hear me? I can hear you.
I'm not hearing you, please.
Right. Okay, well, I don't know what's happening.
I'm not hearing.
I don't know what's happening to the to your comms there, but can you hear me at all? I wanted to make a very
very faint.
Right. I wanted to make a very important point. First of all, we don't support any candidate on Arise News. We are totally down the middle and absolutely objective. That is what drives us as a journalistic institution. The other point I wanted to make, and I hope you can hear me, Basharu, the point I wanted to make is that...
It's faint, but I can hear you.
Okay, I just got a text message from somebody who crunches election numbers, and they said to remind you that the votes in 2023 were Tinubu and Obi combined 14.8 million. That's 62% of the vote going to southern candidates, and Atiku and Kwankwaso in northern candidates was 8.3 million votes, which essentially was 35% of the vote, which shows that more Nigerians, north and south combined, are more supportive of a southern candidate or were more supportive of a southern candidate in 2023 than a northern candidate. So that's something that you should keep in mind. We're almost out of time, so let me ask you this final question. Let me ask you.
Obi and Tinubu?
Hold on. I was just giving you. I wasn't. No, hold on.
Charles.
I wasn't talking about them running together in office. I said the combination of their electoral share of the vote. That's what I was trying to say to you, compared to the combination of the electoral share of the vote from the northern candidates. We're going to go in a minute, but let me just ask you this. In your honest assessment tonight, if the opposition ultimately fractures over this issue, with Atiku in the ADC and Obi Kwankwaso consolidating in the NDC, isn't Bola Tinubu the biggest beneficiary? I mean, is the opposition sleepwalking into another defeat because too many heavyweights want to be president at the same time?
If you have minimum 2 presidential candidates from the South, they will fight themselves freely. And I can guarantee you, the city boys are not joking. The South governors are not joking. They are going to come all out and try to obliterate Obi's votes in those regions. That's none of my business. What concerns me is that you cannot combine Obi and Tinubu. You forgot that at that time, Buhari was still alive. You forgot that at that time, Tinubu did better than Peter Obi in the north. That is why he was able to amass all those votes. So those who are cooking all these things for you, trust me, they are time wasters. And when the time comes, you will see the reality and we shall all face the reality. But today, my takeaway from your statement is that why can't Atiku step down for Obi? I have never heard such an unfair comment in my life. A man wants to run. If he will record one vote, let him record down one vote. There is no guarantee that if he combines or he leaves Obi and Kwankwaso, that they will defeat Tinubu. Tinubu is clearly in charge of a lot of states in the north. You are underrating a man who can open the vault of Nigeria and waste it all on election. I don't know how you think Nigeria suddenly has become Europe or America, where people just vote and because they think a man is their messiah. No, it doesn't work out that way. You will see it. Okay. I've been following presidential elections since 1993, and trust me, it is pure mathematics.
Well, the next time I see you, we shall. The next time I see you, we shall have our usual breakfast, shall we? Okay, you didn't hear that. But anyway, look, I want to thank you very much indeed. It's always a pleasure to have you on the program. Basharu Dele Momodu is a veteran journalist, publisher, ADC chieftain, and Atiku ally. And he was talking to me from our studios in Lagos.